Here we go, recording. All right. Hey guys, Max Brown. I'm here with Justin Grady. Um, he is a goalkeeper at George Washington University, and I'm a 2 days summer intern. So just to get started, we're just gonna go through a few questions and learn about Justin's experience as a student athlete. So here we go. What did it feel like for you to commit to your school?
I think first of all, it was just kind of a relief. GW was one of the later schools that kind of contact me, and I've been pretty much through the whole process and didn't know what I was going to do because I had some offers from other schools that I think weren't a great fit, and GW had kind of come in after I made the decision to kind of wait it out and see what else would come through. Luckily, they came through late. It was definitely a good fit. So it was a lot of relief knowing that I found a good fit after maybe avoiding committing to somewhere that I wouldn't have been as happy at. And then it just felt good to be able to go to such a great school like GW, commit to play soccer on a pretty good team. So,
Cool. Yeah, definitely. And then going off that, how did you decide on GW after, the soccer piece kind of got sorted out? What drew you to the school?
yeah, for one, definitely location being right there in DC, a lot going on. You can kind of, there's a lot for everybody, no matter what you want to do. A lot of connections, which I kind of found out later on, but it's been something that's really helpful for me in terms of like professionally, academically, and things like that. But like growing up, my parents always stressed academics, and it's definitely a great school. It's one of the top schools to be able to kind of push myself academically. And yeah, I just really love the location. My sister's down in DC, been there a bunch of different times, visiting Howard and Georgetown and things like that. So the location is great, a lot to do, and academics are great too.
Right. Cool. And just, kind of diving off of that too, what else drove you to the school? You talked about location. Was your major a big part there? What else played a role other than soccer bringing you to the school?
I think definitely the opportunities. Just being in DC is a lot of professional people, a lot of connections to make. I think it's definitely a big place for networking. Um, and kind of just you know, in terms of not necessarily just a location in terms of what's around, but being like a right distance for me from home, not too far, about 3 hour ride if I need to come home, but enough that I can get a little space from home. Besides that, in terms of my major and stuff, I knew that I definitely wanted to do psychology. Um, and not necessarily psychology specifically because I think that they have decent psychology programs everywhere, but just overall GW being such a good school with a lot of opportunities within a lot of majors. And like a rigorous course load that was really going to push me and allow me to learn a lot.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. And I think, yeah, you sound like you had a good fit there. So now moving on to more of the athlete piece. What do you think has been the hardest thing for you being a student athlete at GW?
I think initially when you come in, the hardest thing is learning how to balance everything. In high school, obviously, you're maybe juggling a little bit more than your other classmates because you play sports, but it's like a whole different level in college. In terms of you have a lot of time on your own, you're away from your parents and things like that, and you can definitely get it all done, but it's a lot of learning how to manage your time. You don't really have as much downtime as it seems like, as though you have a lot of free time. You really need to be using it to do things that are productive, like whether it's making sure you're getting enough sleep, eating well, which was something that I think me and my roommates didn't do a great job of coming in freshman year, but we
Yeah,
learned kind of the hard way because I mean, all on our own, staying up to all hours of the night, but you're really going to pay for it the next morning at practice and things like that. And then just other
right.
things like making time to study and things like that. I think that piece of it has gotten a lot easier as I've grown in my career. And now that I'm going into my senior year, I don't really think about it. It's more second nature. Now it's probably more managing expectations, um, not being too hard on yourselves because there are certain small downfalls that just come with it. You're just going to have bad days academically, physically, athletically, just kind of taking in the stride and moving on and things like that.
Yeah, no, that I definitely makes sense. And seeing that learning curve freshman year is probably a big wake up call, and growing, from freshman year to senior year, that's only going to happen, especially if you're dedicated to your sport and dedicated to your academics. It only gets better. So kind of on the opposite side of that coin, what has been the most rewarding thing for you as a student athlete?
I think it's just the sense of fulfillment when, things are going well, understanding that there are a lot of challenges involved and a lot of the times it's really hard, but there's certain points within, the academic year, within the season where you really feel that you're kind of firing on all cylinders. And I think that's what really feels the best. When you're really performing on the field, you've been putting the work in academically as well. You're getting good marks on exams and things like that. It's really rewarding. And then obviously what we all love to do is go out and compete. So being able to win games and things like that, performing well in training. And then just other small things like just, being with your teammates, hanging out, getting to go on trips, your downtime on the trips, not necessarily playing the games, but like some of the most fun that we have is just, going to team meals, hanging out in the hotels and things like that, just relaxing and bonding with your teammates.
Yeah, no, definitely that camaraderie with the team is second to none, and I think this could be overlooked by some people. They think about the games and the school, doing on school, but the little team meetings and camaraderie like that is you can't second to none. Yeah, kind of going off that too. How has playing a sport sort of helped you grow? First, kind of talk about how you've grown as a student, and then kind of maybe transition to talking about how you've grown as an athlete.
Sure. So I think that academically, I think that playing a sport, especially in college, really pushes you to be, like I said, really good with time management, but also really detail oriented. I think that, a lot of times when you're in high school, you hear coaches preaching about certain values that come with the sport that you can apply in life, but I think it really doesn't hit home or like reach as high as level until you're in college, because that's the time when you really see it. Because I mean, college coaches is like a whole nother level. They're kind of revved up from high school coaches. They're preaching all these values, and you find out that they do really translate in the rest of your life because, like I said, your parents aren't necessarily around to tell you what to do and things like that. You have more freedom, and you kind of are learning that a lot of these things are applicable. So, being driven to succeed, really putting the work in, all that stuff really helps you in the classroom and things like that in terms of studying after hours when no one's looking, things like that, making sure you're doing everything that you can do um, to perform well, whether it's going to office hours, which I mean, all these things are kind of a pain to do, but really important if you want to excel. So yeah, that's what I would say.
Yeah, great. And then, kind of transitioning, I'm interviewing you about, I'm a 2 days intern. And just based off of their rating system and their blogs and maybe some of their articles, if you had known about this tool or this platform when you were getting recruited, what do you think this would have helped you make your choice and kind of ease the pressure of the whole recruiting process?
I think so, definitely. I think that in these kind of decisions, especially kind of the more information that you have, the better. I think that I was kind of, for the most part, flying blind in the whole process. Because I mean, although I had like friends going through the same process, and there's like you can Google stuff and like look up stuff about schools, programs, and things like that. My parents didn't have really any experience getting recruited to schools for athletics. It's kind of its own thing. I didn't have a lot of guidance, so definitely just having resources to look at, whether it's ratings or blogs, like seeing other people talk about things involved with the college recruiting process and just college in general, kind of knowing what to expect going into recruiting, but also within the process of recruiting, knowing what to expect when you get to school, and kind of like other people's opinions, and seeing how that would unfold and relate to your experience going through recruiting as well.
Yeah, and definitely just reading about, experiences where people have been through it before kind of eases your mind. It can help you kind of prepare for the process. If you're, yeah, flying blind, like you said, it can be tough. So, yeah, no, good answer. And then just to round it off on a fun note, as you've been playing goalie at GW, what has been, your favorite memory so far as you've embarked on your journey as a college athlete?
Um, yeah, like I talked about a little bit, definitely some of those trips with the team. We've been lucky enough to take some great trips. My first trip that I actually took my freshman year, so right when I got to school, we got to go to Portland to play a game. And the actual game less so. I mean, it was fine. I played pretty well, but we lost 3-0. So not really
Mhm.
anything that memorable, but we stayed an extra day and we got to explore the city. Really just went all around, experienced it. And then we got to go to a Portland Timbers game that night before we flew out. It's a great experience. You know, you're fresh into college, you're getting to go all the way across the country and really just be with your teammates, enjoying a new city, learning a lot of stuff, bonding, things like that. So I think, you know, when we do those bigger away trips in general, um, besides that, you know, getting to compete against some really good teams. And, you know, you don't necessarily win a lot of those games, but, you know, going to play in that atmosphere, whether it's we played Portland, great atmosphere. They had a lot of fans, nice stadium. They had a drum going the whole time. Like it was a professional match, really cool.
Wow.
Going to play at
Yeah.
UVA or Wake Forest, where you have like really good facilities, just getting to play in that environment. Kind of, you know, when you're thinking about playing when you're smaller and as you grow up, those are the kind of things that you think about getting to play on, you know, the best fields, the best atmosphere against the best teams and kind of testing yourself, competing and seeing where you're at. So it's hard to complain about. And then, you know, just living with your best friends every day, getting to bond with your teammates, roommates. So I guess those three things overall have been really great. I really wouldn't trade it for anything.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. And I think, yeah, those away days they're really cool, you know, taking those trips. Can only imagine, you know, flying out to Portland, that must have been pretty awesome. And, you know,
Mm.
playing those high level schools, UVA and Wake Forest, that's a whole different experience in itself too, you know, because you know they're insanely good, and you know just putting yourself up against them must have been really cool. So yeah, thank you guys. Thank you, Justin, for taking the time out of your day to you know kind of discuss your experience and sort of maybe shed some light on the recruiting process for some other kids, which you know I haven't had when I was getting recruited, and you know that you didn't have. So thank you, man.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah. All right. Good stuff.